Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to those of you who are watching on the Facebook feed. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation designating May the 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and that is a day that falls within Police Week. This past Monday night, I attended the annual Peace Officer Memorial Ceremony and watched as the names of 4 Arizona peace officers who died in the past year were added to the memorial. Also on Monday, my office prosecuted and a jury convicted a man who was in custody that attacked and killed a Maricopa County detention officer. But this week actually started on Sunday with a Phoenix police officer being brutally assaulted. I have viewed the attack. You do not want to. We asked for a $100,000 cash bail, which requires the individual to post the full amount. Cash bail is appropriate for the most dangerous people. The bond instead was set as $60,000 secured appearance bond, which only requires the posting of 10% of the dollar amount and the collateral posted for the rest. Now, the rules of ethics appropriately require me to remind you that charges are not evidence and that people are innocent until proven guilty. But what I'm here about today is not just about one case. It is a greater concern. When I ran for county attorney last year, there were 2 very clear and unmistakably different platforms on the ballot. I campaigned on a platform of supporting the police, ensuring the safety of the community, and the need to set appropriate bail amounts. The voters spoke. A few weeks ago, I was asked about the upward trend of police shootings during one of these press conferences. And let me be very, very clear. I am willing to hold police officers accountable when appropriate. But the question we should be asking is, why do so many people feel like they can be aggressive and violent toward the police? This office is putting significant resources into advocating for appropriate bail so that we are not letting dangerous individuals back into society. We also proposed a bill that would hold felons who are on probation in custody if they continue to commit felonies while on probation. The voters of Maricopa County have made it clear. They do not want the kind of society where police are not supported and those who do harm to society by committing crimes are tolerated. The elected and the appointed officials need to pay attention to the will of the voters. And with that, I'll take questions.
Hi, Attorney Mitchell. How are you?
Hi.
I wanted to ask you about the follow-up stories that we had done from last year regarding DUI felony charges. Where are you guys standing cases? And how many of those? I know last August you told us the office had a little bit over 600 DUI criminal cases that involved 187 aggravated assaults with vehicle or with manslaughter with the vehicle. What is the status on the number that you guys have, and how many of those have you guys made a charging decision or done prosecution on them?
So, as I reported at the last press conference, we've made a tremendous effort to reduce the backlog of cases for charging. The stats that I can give you for the vehicular crimes unit specifically are as follows. At the end of March 2022, we had 2,267 cases, this is total cases for the unit, submitted for review that were pending and awaiting review in that bureau. At the end of March of 2023, that number was 814. Currently, right now, we have 680 cases that are pending review. And then as far as specifics as to aggravated assault type of charges, we could look into that if you want to break those out.
And I know also last time you had mentioned us that as part of that vehicular crimes bureau that you have, there was 15, I believe, attorneys. Have you? And I know you guys were working towards increasing that, given that some of the attorneys were looking at 50 to 60 cases per attorney. How many do you have now on staff, and what is the caseload for them?
So right now, for that unit, we have 18 deputy county attorneys, including the bureau chief. that are working in that bureau. That number was 15, as you pointed out, last year around August of 2022. Their caseloads are still high, and that's a product of us addressing the backlog, and so we continue to monitor that bureau to see if there are any additional resources that are needed.
Overall staffing, where does the agency stand? I know when you started your role, you said that you started with a 20% deficit. How does that look like now?
So we started with a 20% deficit almost in every category in the office, and now since I took office a little over a year ago, we have hired 197 people. We are now in the single digits percentage-wise across the board. So the prosecutors are almost up to full staffing. So it's gone very well.
And last question, we were focusing on Kimberly Perro, one lady who lost one of her legs, and the suspect was just recently sentenced last month to 7.5 years. The family was asking me, or the husband specifically, how do you prioritize what cases get flagged more, or you guys look into some that versus other ones? In this case, you have to wait 2 years to get some sort of justice. What is the process, and what can you tell the husband who was asking? There needs to be more priority in some of the cases when somebody lost a limb or lost both limbs or maybe their life.
If I recall about that case, we talked about it last year. I believe that there was a furthering back to the agency, if I recall correctly.
That one was on the one gentleman that lost both of his legs.
Okay. All right. So, obviously, we're looking at a number of factors. We're looking at danger to society as being a priority. We're looking at, victim cases as a priority. But again, as I talked about last year, it's not a sexy topic to talk about. We need more people, but it was a foundational piece that we could not go forward until we had this office back up to a healthy number of people. And so once that happened, you see the numbers dropping.
Do you think you guys are in a good number staffing-wise to carry on with the caseload and the more that keep adding every day?
The county is growing, and we're going to be constantly monitoring that. It's once we get fully staffed, we're waiting for some additional conditional hires to come on board here. We're going to reassess it. We've done a little bit of reorganization that I think might make things more efficient for the office, but we will continue to assess it, and we will be vocal about our needs with the Board of Supervisors, who have been extremely supportive of our efforts.
For anybody out there, for any family or victim waiting for some type of justice, specifically speaking on Jeremiah's case, 23-year-old who lost both of his legs, I learned from family he's considering has had some self-harm because of being a victim. What do you tell those families who are still waiting for some sort of justice?
I can't imagine what he's gone through. It's heartbreaking. I can't imagine suffering that kind of loss. What I would say is, to communicate with the office. If you feel like you're wondering where the case is, communicate either with the assigned advocate or find out who the assigned prosecutor is. But obviously what most concerns me there is about him contemplating self-harm, which, I can imagine is a product of a lot of things, including the loss of his legs. What I would say is, contact victim services in our office. We can point you to resources so that you can, address those issues. We certainly don't want that.
Any questions from the floor?
Okay, I've got one other thing that I just want to do quickly, and we'll do a little bit more on this later. Since we've now hit 100 degrees in Phoenix, this is the time of year that we start to hear about children and animals left in cars or drownings. And as somebody who prosecuted child cases for years and years, it's a grief that you can't even describe. So what I would say to people out there is, I know that a lot of people think, well, that could never happen to me. But what we do see is when there is a change in routine, when there is stress, when there is maybe an unusual amount of tiredness or exhaustion, that's when things like this happen. So please be mindful of that. There is a Good Samaritan law in Arizona that does allow bystanders to rescue children and animals out of a car. It does require that you call 911 before you go about breaking any sort of window to get the child out or the animal out. And so if it gets to that point, what I would caution you to do is please break a window that's not closest to the child or the animal so that they are not injured in the process, but call 911 first. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.